Good job.
All right, this is our March 24th, 2025 select board meeting, and just to be upfront, Mary Ellen and Charlotte, who are on the Zoom, just to let you know that we are not having our RSU presentation today. The weather is not good, and they have asked to postpone it until April 14th. So hopefully we'll have better weather by then. All right, so we're gonna begin with our warrants, payroll number 79. I'd like to move that we approve that for $2,094.13. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to move that we accept accounts payable number 80 for $85,388.23. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And this one is for the RSU. Yeah. All right, I'd like to move that we accept payroll number 81 for $1,964.52. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, for the accounts payable number 82, I'd like to move that we accept that for $10,724.83. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I'd like to move that we accept the minutes of March 10th select board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, let me find that. Hey, Mario.
It's really important to come out in this one.
All right, one of the things on our decision, on our agenda today is to make a decision about the town hall front repairs. We had 3 bids for, the town hall and the ramp and the front repairs, so, we have taken our time, we have actually looked at, references and we need to make a decision today. So, do you want to give thoughts on it?
I did reference calls for one person and it was a little bit of apples and oranges with the bid submissions because the materials were different. One person offered up like a cement front ramp for the town hall. And another one was just straight pressure treated, and our concern was the aesthetic of the front the ramp, and then the residing of the front of the town hall. I think the bids were pretty. The disparity was really with the ramp in terms of the cost, but this thing cost, of course, is an issue, but it's not the only factor in deciding who gets a bid. Obviously, there's a lot of things that come into play. So, yeah, so we did our reference calling and discussing with Chris Melier. Was sort of in between. He's on the town property committee. He met with the guys and kind of talked to them. And sort of got a feel. So we had that aspect of it also. So those are all the things that kind of went into the decision. So, yeah.
So we're proposing that for the town hall repairs bid that we go with.
This is are you doing them separate?
Yeah.
So the repairs is the front face of the building.
Right.
The siding.
And by the way, no one could do it before June or July, which is, we wanted it done before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was a little point to even get bids, these things, but anyway.
So based on our conversation and all our research and whatnot, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract for Jason Putnam at $24,600. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. This fellow, by the way, has a lot of research on, he deals a lot with old buildings. and restoring old buildings, and that also, was part of our decision making. Yeah,
For the other, how many others?
there were three total.
Three total.
So there was Jason Putnam, let me make sure I have them right, because I have, Dave Hudson was 23.5. And, Dale Reno was 72,000.
Yeah, and that was,
Well,
yeah.
what was it then?
I don't know.
Sounds like the Davies Allen bid.
So. Yeah, that one was just way off, yeah.
I just keep thought for the record, when you know.
Yeah, we had mentioned those earlier, but yes,
And
Yep.
the last meeting?
We-
Well,
yeah,
no, the
we
meeting when you
opened
got.
them. We
when you
opened
opened
them.
yeah.
Yeah, we did.
All right, we also have the town hall ramp bid. And again, there was the issue, and you already addressed this, that, one of the bids that we got from Hodgkin was, he actually was going to use, pressure treated, which is something we prefer not to have.
Well, not entirely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in some aspects, but not the whole thing, so it just looks like a deck. And it was explained about the aesthetic of the building, and how important this ramp was to the overall look of the building, so the other one from Dale was the cement,
Mhm.
which
Right.
wasn't even in our possible materials to be used for that, so no offense, he does a great job plowing.
So, Dave Hodgson for the ramp was at $9,000, but he had a lot of extras that were not included. Painting was not included, the pressure treated would dry a year, extra cost for the purchase of the grate that would need to go in. So there was a lot of. This is our cost, but we have several other things, and there were also some issues about, if anything happened, the town would have 50% responsibility for all OSHA violations. But that's in his, and we sort of struggle with that. The other two, is to,
Bergen, he also cited some other conditions in his bid, relative to townspeople and access. And being around while work was being done, and just,
I think he knows the town and he knows that people are gonna be watching him, and he was very sensitive to that. So,
so the other bid was by, Jason again, and his total was 22,680. And the third one that we had on that one was also from
it was Dale.
Dale again, yep, and I'm just trying to figure, that one was 23,906. And that one was all concrete. So I'd like to make a motion after our discussions and lots of thinking about this, is that we go with Jason with the 22,680. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Alright.
And that's Jason Putnam, by the way.
Yes, correct.
All right, speaking of bids, I believe we received a few bids for the vaping contract. And we will open those. We will not make any decision. We have up to 30 days to make a decision, but we will open them and at least let you know what the amounts are. So this is from All States Construction. I feel like the winner is, we should have a drum beat. Ooh, I like the tabs. All right, this includes the insurance and everything else. I'm just gonna go to the last page. I'm gonna find the amount.
there should be a, we gave him a bid form, so hopefully
Here it
it's
is.
a simple
Yep.
form that
Yep,
cuts
yep.
the chase.
It's actually in the middle here. The bid and award information, this is from All States. total is $113,950.50. And this is, reclaim 5 yards, fine grade 5 yards, cost. Charlotte, if you need all of this for the paper, I can, I'll make sure that
I doubt it.
April has it. Basically, the
It's gonna
price at $113,930.50.
$3.
Yeah.
Can I get paid what?
That's from West Shore, sort of down to Harriman.
The Hammond Point
The end
there.
there. And the other section is
The each,
With Shore Road and
West Shore Road.
Red,
yep.
Red. Thank you.
Yeah.
Four West Shore Road.
Yeah.
So the,
Yeah, right.
and what,
Right.
the main road to the gate one.
Right.
Oh,
Okay, I got, ignore that.
That's not the final number, that was the first number.
That's-
So,
yeah, it's like.
Well, we few extremes sometimes, as you saw with our other bids, so
Yeah,
it's just
so
not.
it should be, that's
Yep,
their,
yep, got it.
So
All
good.
right,
New number.
Charlotte, erase what you just wrote, and this is still All States Construction. The grand total is $293,808.40. Yeah, I'm gonna give this to you again, and you'll make copies for this. Okay. And you're from?
Hager and Fire.
Hager, that's right, I saw you earlier. Right. This is from Crooker. See if I get the number right.
look for that form, they all have the same form, it have to be like a total.
There it is.
There it is. Ah, yes, this side looks a lot nicer than this side. I think I like the other side better. All right, Crooker, grand total is $384,122.50. That's $384,122.50. Okay. Yeah. And this is from Hager, who is with us.
What's your name, President?
Stevens?
Colin Stevens? Is that like DAUDA kind of?
Yeah.
All right, let me find the back page. Okay, from Hager, grand total. I just want to confirm that I am on the last page.
You found.
$317,305. And I'll repeat that again for you, Charlotte, $317,305. We will, have,
Is that or anything to send out for shoulder or special for?
That's the other gentleman asked us too, the All States,
Yeah, I certainly can, I haven't in the past, but you wanna see like the price breakdown for the
Yeah.
materials?
Yeah.
On top of it,
Sure.
it's fine, right?
Mhm.
Just like to see how we're doing.
or they could all look at us on the Zoom.
no, he wants the breakdown of
I
the.
know,
separate-
yeah.
Separate parts.
That was a great one.
Yep,
Great.
that was
That
it.
was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Safe
Thank you.
travels.
Yes, be careful out
Yeah,
there.
everybody.
All right, so we will not talk about the citizen, the RSU presentation, go right to citizens issues.
We don't know what I'm looking for.
Well,
on
I'll
the-
pull it up, which is further down here. What we do have is a letter to, I know this has been an issue. The junkyard violation. I actually saw him the other day and I believe he's been ill. But again, we talked about things that need to happen. So I will read to you what we will be sending him. This is to Chris Wormwood. Based on several observations and conversations with the code enforcement officer, we concur with his findings and recommendations. Number one, neatly stack the remaining wood pallets in a row parallel to Greenleaf Road to be used for heating the garage and reclaiming lumber for woodworking projects. I actually saw the stack, and it wasn't too bad the other day, but it wasn't hidden either. Number two, erect the 3 portable garages as depicted on building permit 24-15, provided the buildings are no closer than 20 feet to the property line or 40 feet from the sideline of Greenleaf Road. And this was with conversation with Gary about where they should be put. I know one of them has blown over. My understanding is he's gonna get that back once the now the snow, but once the mud goes away. Number 3, remove or relocate any remaining machinery and small equipment into the newly erected storage buildings and ensure that any equipment stored in the building is not discharging any fluids or waste harmful to the environment. Number 4, keep clear the area in front of the garage bays for space to park personal vehicles so as not to obstruct the roadway. And number 5, continue to clear out and organize the remaining materials stored between the house and the garage. The above measures would satisfy the CEO and the select board that your property would no longer be subject to any action under the junkyard statute of the state of Maine. However, the select board will continue to periodically request that the CEO inspect your property to make sure that you will continue to follow through with your commitments as stated above. And, you know, I know that property will never be beautiful. It's never going to have every,
Well, I have no problem with that. Basically, this is about the 3rd letter you send him. He hasn't done nothing. And now you send him another one with no consequences. Whereby you have the right to say, if it doesn't happen to our satisfaction, the town can come and clean it up. Put the expense on you taxes, and if you don't pay it, you come to the lien on your house. And that will expedite the thing. I mean, I was here the first time he came in, and he said, and I kept it, it would be ready by the end of June. I think you were still here.
yep.
Then nothing happened, something happened, and you did a good job with that. But in the meantime, then you put Gary in charge. Half of the stuff what Gary did with him did not happen. There was the tree has nothing to do, and the electric company has nothing to do with him. If he wants the tree down, he has to take it down. Then he puts up a tent. The tent was closer than 20 feet to his neighbor. It blew over,
Mhm.
and it's still blowing over.
Yeah, I saw it upside down.
It's it's not even, you didn't make the effort. And now you go and talk to him and he's sick. I think you should, and I had sent you a note where it states, first of all, that you have to write. Let me just see where it was. Oh, here. As it states in the state of Maine ordinance, if the schedule is no trouble, such the town can take action and do the cleaning up and add cost to clean up to your yearly taxes. It states. So I don't understand. Wasting my time to come here and wasting your time to sit down and discuss the thing. It took a month to put this together. It took me about a half an hour to put my little note to you together. So I don't understand why this thing is not done.
Okay, can I say something?
And
So this is near and dear because last year for umpteen meetings, we talked about that nuisance ordinance, which didn't pass. It didn't lose by a lot, but it didn't pass at last year's town meeting. The nuisance ordinance, the state has its statute, yes, that we can abide by. But, and then our nuisance ordinance kind of, sort of went a little deeper, but what we found was it's extremely difficult to determine how much is enough or how much, junk is acceptable, because the concern is that we need like a junk police. I understand your frustration. What I think is gonna come out of this, I think, in the bigger picture, we have the water quality study that we did, and we have a whole big presentation that we're gonna present to the town about our water and the value of our water, and what are we gonna do as a community to protect our water. And I think that what's gonna come out of that is more scrutiny on what people are actually, having laying around their properties, and more of a way to look into it. There's other properties, there's one right on Main Road that screams to me every time I drive by it,
Agree.
okay? But so to take this man, he's making an effort, it's not perfect, and it's not, but I don't feel comfortable at this point, when we can't do this to everybody that deserves it to happen to, and we're not in that position right now, to take him to such a financial extreme, and a battle and a legal, he could counter sue us and say that we're targeting him and we're not dealing with other towns. And I think that our feeling all along is that we feel like if we sort of maintain this pressure and we keep sort of encouraging and sort of prodding, that it'll get better. Maybe not in the time frame that this is just me speaking from my experience working with this in the ordinance, the nuisance ordinance. That's my feeling on it,
I have
on how to deal with it.
that. And you have to understand. People don't, why do we have ordinances if we don't even try to enforce them? It's like a guy in Northampton who built a clothes.
But if
For
we,
$2,000, I just pick it out of my project and I do whatever I want to do. But it's a precedent now that this time somebody who didn't obey the law got away with $2,000. So now $2,000, no big deal. So I just add that to my project and I give you $2,000. This guy constantly gives you notes and says, yeah, I will do it by then and then. And then it's not done. It's the power company, it's him, it's this guy, and
Yeah.
nothing happened.
yeah,
Nothing happened, and people keep, when we do it, whereby if you once, you put your point down and say, that's what's going to happen, people take more notice.
I understand, yeah, absolutely.
And you don't have to enforce the fine, but at least let them know that you have the right to do what is said in the book.
Mhm.
We've talked so much about this and talk about wasting
Why not?
time.
That's why I would like to finish it. Like,
Yeah,
you know, how to do the water testing. They talk, don't do it until everything is cleaned up because it's a waste of your money.
Yeah.
I said that a year and a half ago.
and I know he's made progress, and
I agree,
I know he's gotten rid of some cars.
Have to put the foot down, and you don't have to stick to it, but at least let them know you have the right to do that. And then other people take notice, well, that has, like I said, if he would stack the stuff properly, I would have no problem. And what really prompted me to think is that his neighbor can use his well. That's, I felt bad for him when he had no money and he complained to George. That's a long time ago.
Thoughts? Do we sign this letter or do we write another one and threaten him?
You don't have to threaten him,
yeah,
you just have to state that you have the right to do that.
I would say, I don't disagree with Mario, that the ordinances are in place. We're being asked to enforce them, that's our job. And for us to say to him, these are the next steps, we can lay it out and. Will we get some pushback? Probably. but at the same,
Then you can deal with it.
but at the same time, he's right in law enforcement in general. You typically, when there's situations, you really only have to write 1 or 2 tickets. And the behavior stops because word spreads and nobody else wants to get in that same position, so. You could use that ordinance
Yeah, it's a
in
state,
that way.
state statute. We don't have our own ordinance on it. One of the challenges has always been, it's like, as you said, when is enough enough?
I
And
understand,
that's-
but
that's-
you don't explore it. I mean, you're people with common sense, you can feel when it's time to stop, but if you just don't do anything, this guy gives you 1,000 excuses. Waste my time, waste your time.
So we can either sign this and send it to, or we can go back to the drawing board and revise it and come a little harsher. It's,
I don't believe we ever presented that to him.
I think we
It's
did
so
early
many
on a
words, did
year
we?
ago, I think so. Do you remember a
Saying
year
it
ago?
that way.
Did we threaten him? We
Threat-
had till June or July to do something.
Well, and I don't.
I really
We
think,
did on the case that it was a violation of the state.
Right.
Right.
In terms of having
A junkyard.
and needed to eliminate that situation.
which he did get rid of one, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, and some junk cars, he did.
Yeah, we make concern about the petroleum products possibly being in.
There's still 3 or 4 lawnmowers standing around.
And Gary did go to those and check to make sure there was nothing there and you know, that.
Like,
That's an easy win on that part.
Yeah.
So we could keep these conditions. You've got action items you're asking them to do. We could
Add a
give them
paragraph
a,
that
give them a
says,
deadline
Mhm.
and give them a consequence.
Okay, we'll go back and add a little bit more to it.
Yeah, I don't think we have, so, it's just.
It
Yeah.
might be time to use that, as Mario points out. It's there, it's in the law. It's our job to enforce it. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
the challenge is enforcing to what extent. That's what we keep
Well,
coming
that,
back
and then
to.
also is, we should expect that we'll probably hear some other complaints from other landowners that have neighbors. Because they'll see we're taking action, so,
It of course comes back to what's good enough.
right?
Mhm, exactly,
Somebody always would go back to what's good enough.
exactly, and exactly.
And that's a challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, so you don't wanna be, you didn't wanna be in the position of saying, this is okay, and that's not.
Yeah,
You-
it's almost
So
impossible.
it continues to meet the definition of a
Yeah.
junkyard.
Yeah.
It does. So if what's good enough is to change it to the point where it no longer meets that definition. Then we don't have an issue.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And we've been at it for a good while.
But the definition was set up such a way that it could apply to, pretty broadly.
Yeah.
And that's why it's in the.
Yeah,
Well, I also wonder if it's just hard for him to do it, right? Like
It is.
sick and, whatever. So maybe if like the town will, do it and like charge him for it, but maybe we can find a way to do it inexpensively or with volunteers or something so that the charges are minimal and like approach it in a healthy way.
One of the challenges is, so the things that are there are things that he feels he needs.
I see.
And actually, when I was there the other day, because I was going for a walk and so I was able to go slow enough to walk by and I've always wondered about those pallets, but I do know that he does use those pallets for,
it's right, it's
Yeah.
just not done.
yeah, and I don't, I did see that some of the pallets had been cut up and so it looks like he is using them for fire. I mean, I think pallets are great for burning. The challenge is he has so many pallets. And if that's his only wood source, I mean, would you criticize somebody who has a big pile of wood in the front of their yard? And
right,
that's
yeah.
how good is good enough is the problem.
Parents,
Yep.
then you don't even have, you just put the paragraph in, you don't have to say you written it or you wrote it, just. Put the paragraph in so he's aware what could happen, but I'm sure he doesn't give a damn right now, because each time he gets away with something, gives you a plan to clean
But
up.
I honestly think that also it's sort of the constant pressure. I mean, we're not pushing too hard, but he kind of knows we're still kind of watching and expecting without sort of pushing him to the point where he's, you know, uncomfortable or can't handle it or.
When Sandy's gonna die before we're ready to have it cleaned up, I mean, at the rate we're going.
Again, but how much is cleaned up? But okay, so I mean,
So what I'd like to propose then is we take this letter and review it again at our workshop. And see if we can't add a paragraph that says if you don't do these things, you're in trouble. We'll have to figure out what that trouble is. And we'll see what we,
We're just at the power now, so it's not even you getting the whole place.
Yeah, see, this is what the law says.
It leaves you out of the day, that's.
And are you okay if we do a time frame so that we let them get past mud season? Before he
Let
starts-
something happen, I don't care,
Okay.
it's your job.
Well, I think if we're gonna put some time in, we need to be reasonable and not make them do it in the mud.
I also know he's been sick. And, like really sick.
Yeah, the tank blew down
I
about
know.
6 months ago, so you mean because he's sick now, it's still laying there? Or is it because he gives the death? He doesn't really care,
My understanding is he has cancer.
his neighbor too. And he can't use his well because it's poison.
I mean, I think a deadline
Yep,
in combination with, this is the consequence, but
we
also,
also ask
if
him
you
if he
need-
wants help. Yeah.
yeah, we, you know,
We
like,
can arrange
we
something
can, like,
to just help him out.
I think we did offer that at one point.
Yeah.
First, council offered to say, look, we could give you some help.
Right,
They said, no, thank you,
yeah.
I got it covered.
well, it might have changed.
yeah, it could have changed for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, especially because he has been sick. All right, so I propose that we didn't have this conversation.
We tabled it, you tabled it.
We
And
tabled it.
We don't wanna eliminate these.
No,
action
no, but we need
steps.
to
We just wanna add to
to
it.
the paragraph.
Okay.
And actually, those action steps were based on some of the work that Gary had done last winter, or in the winter. All right. So, next on our agenda,
I wanna just say thank you to Mario for not giving up on us.
Pain in the ass, that's what I am.
We love you.
I'm sure I love a good thing in this.
And you pay attention, then it matters.
Well, I just feel bad for Rich.
Yep.
Oh,
yep. All right, roads, I know Jim is out plowing today. He did call earlier today and we actually talked a little bit about, Post Office Road.
Oh,
Because we know that that's been on the, on Facebook.
The intersection with post office and West Shore.
What is it?
Yep. Yep,
What's the issue?
It's terrible,
mud.
Yeah, it,
and it's every year, and
Oh, pretty.
we just accept you're not gonna live on that road unless you're four-wheel drive. Forget.
But there are
Not
different
going
ways
to
that you can
the-
go.
They're all
Right.
bad, like, they're all terrible.
Yep.
And it just is terrible. And my understanding is there's geography under the road that would be
Not, yeah, it's
quite
ledge, like,
expensive
there's a
to
lot of.
fix it. You either have to pave it or you gotta like really blast the crap out of
Right.
several sections.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't even know if it's on the docket for improvement because it was such a,
I asked him and he said it was, but I don't know where it is in the process, but I did tell him what we would want to talk about that some more, especially because it's becoming an issue, a big issue.
just also to note that, Jim was here, I pat him on the back. Some of the bad spots that we had in previous years, because he did address them. I mean, the entrance, the first section of Post Office Road was horrible last year, again, almost impassable. This year, not so much. Now, again, our roads are still a problem,
Mhm.
but there has been improvement from the work that Jim has done.
Yeah, yeah.
I just,
It's sort of
I
like a,
could do something more
yeah,
with that intersection.
yeah.
Yeah, and he also mentioned that it was better this year than it was last year, but it's still, having noticed it.
Depends on the weather and how intensely that mud comes on, you know?
And we're
As
just at the
opposed to like
beginning
a
of-
little bit and then it freezes and then
Yep.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, lucky for us, we have a second way.
Yes,
people can still get where they wanna go. It might be longer, but they can still get.
and you live sort of in the middle, so either way you go is bad. All right,
Lisa, you had the same problem on Castle Lane. And since Randy put the big stones underneath, wherever there was a problem,
Yeah,
it really helped,
yeah, no.
you know, instead of putting just
It
regular
was,
gravel.
a process over years of
Right,
building,
correct.
building
No,
the road. Yeah,
Now it's much better.
right, it is, it
Yeah.
is.
but Jim is aware of it. And when he's back, we can talk some more about that, where it is in his plan, but I just wanted to bring it up because I know it was an issue on Facebook and people have been really complaining about it.
Are you getting the mail now again?
Am I getting, oh, no, I don't think so.
No, they said that you would for a while.
No.
Yeah, no mail. So, well, that means no bills, so
Yeah, it's
don't
okay if the
complain.
bill's not so great if it's, you know, my shoes.
All right, moving on, let's talk about committee reports, and we have the cemetery committee here, so Miss Cemetery.
Um,
Oh, by the way, this is Bailey Bartlett, for Charlotte, who's taking notes.
so at our most recent meeting, we tried to kind of narrow our focus. And make sure we're all on the same page, so started off with establishing our intentions, which are not specific goals, but kind of the means and how we achieve them. Do you wanna know what those are?
Sure.
Okay, public awareness of the historical importance of cemeteries. Create and nurture a culture of island preservation and identity. Establish connections to the island through community engagement. And be a resource for islanders.
Do you have a copy of that for April, put in the minute?
Yeah, she said though, it'll be after the next meeting, they have to approve.
Yep.
So, but yes, I do. So with that in mind, we from there set goals or a goal. And in terms of actual physical work, what we plan to do is for the upcoming semi-quincentennial, so what to get that right. So July 4th, 2026, we're going to do or hope to do a pamphlet. That's gonna be a self-guided walking tour of the 4 cemeteries that are currently publicly accessible.
Great.
So there won't be any issues with private versus
Exactly.
whatever, but part of that tour, that pamphlet will kind of do deeper dives into the people that are buried there.
Mhm.
Or in other instances, like the Alzina Colby Cemetery that's on, I guess, East Shore Road, Lower East Shore Road. There's a bunch of unmarked, they're marked with just a metal cross, but they're kind of unknown graves. Kind of tying that into the location of it, its proximity to the old Hodgson Mill.
Mm.
Just kind of trying to make the connections kind of to the island. And so those 4 cemeteries will be the focus of kind of a cleanup over the next workable days. Just cutting out small trees that have grown up, picking up branches, clearing things back, cleaning the stones. But
Bailey, are you connecting with I'm assuming you are connecting with the history
yep,
center?
I have a meeting with John Henderson when he comes back.
Mhm.
And Dennis Dunbar and John are gonna come to our next cemetery cemetery committee meeting.
Perfect.
That's great.
Yeah, because it sounds like such a nice connection, and I know we'll talk.
They overlap so
Yeah.
much. And I think that's really it for.
That's great. That's exciting. Yeah, very exciting. Thank you for putting that effort in.
Yeah.
And as I said in my note to you the other day, that we appreciate yours giving us the minutes and the things that we keep putting in our policies. that don't-
So good. Here and there. Shellfish committee is looking. Cemetery committee is good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think people are just. I've been thinking about, for the cemetery committee, putting a warrant article in to explicitly explain. Or to explicitly get the okay for them to, maintain all the graves.
That's probably
Bill-
a good, yes.
Bill,
Is it
Bill Hopkins.
Hopkins? Sorry, Bill Hopkins. Emailed us, he'd seen where we were asking for numbers and saying you maintain all the cemeteries, and he's like, all we're supposed to do is maintain veterans graves. Technically, yes, that's what the state law says. And I don't, there's one warrant article back in the early 2000s where the select board was given permission to accept donations for cemeteries, but it didn't really establish like the cemetery committee or the scope of it. So I wonder, and I've been emailing with MMA about the Schweppe thing and trying to get that lined up. And she said, well, you should make sure you have a warrant article that has given them permission to maintain all the graves.
Mm.
Because that's like expanding your mission and whatever.
Mhm. Well, that's
And
what
I
Bill
think
was
that's what
alluding
you've
to,
always been
too.
doing. And people know that, but it might make sense for this warrant to just.
Formalize.
I think that's a great idea.
I don't think I can get feedback, and it
Yeah.
might be a good way to like.
Yeah.
That would cover us, and so what I've done, like I cleaned the stones at the cemetery at Old Woods Road.
Mhm.
Before I did any, because that's a privately owned, but it was overtaken with bittersweet and the stones were, horrible looking. I contacted the cemetery owner, person who had that, Merlin, and gave him a heads up and, got his permission. But that would save a lot of footsteps and
Mhm.
back and forth and we'd be,
You'll still have to work with the private landowner,
Yeah.
because like, they have the right to say no, but then they have to do it.
Right.
That's right in the state
Right.
law, so you still have to do that a little bit.
They may appreciate the fact that there's a committee to do it instead of me having to do it.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
could we develop something so that a landowner that has a cemetery that wants it to
Well,
be
they
taken
would
care
have
of?
a contact person.
Right, but instead of having to go every year, just develop a contract that says, the town committee will take care of this until you tell us you don't want us to do it anymore. And it would formalize, and then you'd probably have some owners say, well, I want my cemetery to be on your toll.
Yep.
And I want my cemetery stones to be,
So we have,
acknowledged.
so we kind of had an idea of, to what you're saying, we do our initial 4 cemeteries that public, accessibility. The following year, if we can get on a kick, if it was a success, doing kind of a, 4 more cemeteries. Private landowners would kind of seek us out, or we seek out certain ones that we, want to prioritize. And we'd have to work with April and MMA, but to have them be able to sign a, release of liability.
Mhm.
So people that are the public that are accessing it. They wouldn't be responsible for them. And then in turn, they'd be featured
Mm.
in our next, walking tour, the walking tour of 2027. But then their properties would be prioritized for that year's kind of intense
Mhm.
cleanup,
Yep.
so.
Or like a garden tour. If.
Yeah,
Yep.
Exactly.
They're gonna have a cemetery tour.
There was,
It was
yeah,
like 8 or 9 years ago.
yeah,
And was it the history committee that put it on?
Sorry.
It was hugely popular.
Yeah.
I loved it.
People
So,
love old cemeteries.
yeah, I think that you're going in the right direction to,
Yeah,
not let these things just get.
Did that
overgrown
include
and
private?
forgotten.
they were all, this is private.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, now I'm so much there to have for veterans, for example, the Old Woods one, that's a Civil War veteran.
So,
Pretty on.
it's Lincoln's bodyguard.
yeah.
That's right. Exactly. So we did a number of cemeteries.
So maybe you can dig up what was done
I-
before.
I sent that to
Yeah.
April
It is
today,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah,
We've done it before, so.
but we appreciate your coming and would appreciate you coming after your next meeting and
Absolutely.
Can you pronounce that word for me one more time? The.
Semi-quincentennial.
Semi-quincentennial. Thanks.
Say it.
It's like the last week, or when I come up, I was like, Sarah, on my way to the meeting, I guess, for cemetery committee, it's like from my shop to the firehouse, it's like the whole way, I'm like semi Vincent text. Semi.
You got it, it's good.
My spell check accepts it.
Great, thank you.
Anyhow.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to select board business. And we'll start with, the first thing is our printing for the annual report. And I've just gone off the paperwork for that. April, you want to talk to us about that?
So it's gonna be that time where we really gotta start thinking about the annual report. And I called or emailed around to 3 different printers, just trying to get quotes for the printing of the report. I got quotes from Wilson County News, from Express Copy, who we've used before, and from,
Brunswick Instant Print.
yeah, sorry, my computer's slow, I'm trying to pull up the document. And that's for both saddle stitch, which is like a bunch of pages, big pages that are like stitched down the middle, as opposed to perfect bind, which looks more like a classic book with an actual binding. It's very nice, very fancy, a lot more expensive. So Express Copy came in with the lowest price overall, $853.88 for the saddle stitch. Their perfect bind is $1,530.61. Lincoln County News came in more expensive, quite a bit more expensive for both, $2,135 for saddle stitch, $2,225 for perfect bind. And then Brunswick Instant Print only does saddle stitch, and again, they came in a lot pricier than either two at $2,589. So we have used Express Copy for the last absolutely 10 years. That's my suggestion this year, and I think saddle stitches, you know, even though not as fancy, probably the best option. It's a really good value, and you get it's a good product. It's kind of hard to print the title on the spine. Figured out how to do it last year, so that's the big downside.
And I haven't heard anybody complain about that.
If anyone thinks about this, I certainly
No.
didn't until I have to. So.
No. Well, I'd like to make a motion that we go with Express Copy saddle stitch. That is the most reasonable. And I think the most important thing is what's inside. So do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Just for reference for you ladies. 120 pages, 350 copies. I just did 3,000, printed 3,000 single pages, and it was $590.
Where'd you do it?
At a print shop in Augusta.
Was it Albuson's?
It was.
I've used Albuson's, and I got quotes from them before last year.
Yeah.
I like them, but I don't know. I just tried to mix it up and go with give another.
Yeah, this is just, I don't know how they're doing it for that price.
Yeah. And Albertsons did come in pretty high last time I tried, so.
So I know that's a good deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so April, you're on a roll. We want to talk about the moderator?
Yeah, I reached out to Chris Cooper. He is available on June 21st, the date of our town meeting, and he would like to do it. And he pretty much gets paid whatever we tell him we'll pay him. So I think we should get him scheduled since he's willing. So I did not call around because there just isn't many people who do this in this area. He's kind of the only gig or the only one we like.
And he knows all of us
And
characters
he
here,
knows
so
characters, he's, yeah, we're kind of his.
each town has its own. So I'd like to move that we have you go ahead and pursue getting Chris Cooper for June 21st. Yeah. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have you decided what time you want to start the meeting this year?
Oh, we already established that.
That was
10 a.m.
We had much higher attendance last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because of the 10 a.m. or because people were excited about the ordinances, but that seemed to work.
I think the 10 a.m. is smart and it helps.
Mhm. All right, keep on. You want to talk about the amendment to the town committee policy?
Yes, that is actually for the cemetery committee in Bailey. They like to meet at the fire station, and we don't have that in our list of public buildings where they meet. We have this policy establishes various public places where we want committees to meet unless they have extenuating circumstances, because they're supposed to be public meetings. So I'm just adding the fire station to the list.
Yeah, and actually, we talked about that, and for a while there, we had WCA also meeting at the fire station. But then we had Stacy come one time and he told us about how expensive the heat was, and it's like, then why are we meeting there? Because when we meet there, we have to turn up the heat, or we sit, I sat there with a coat on the whole time, and so WCA was willing to come back here, which is always heated. And it's not that far. So I did mention to Bailey last time,
Yeah.
and too bad she left. But I told her about this,
Yeah.
the issue with.
They're most active in the spring and summer anyway.
Yep,
So I think it's good to have as an option.
Yep.
Just in case.
Well, while it's usable,
Right.
it may not be usable after,
Falls over.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a move that we accept the amended town committee's policy to include the fire station as one of the acceptable public locations. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Lisa, the assessor's agent, RFP.
Yeah, so this is, we need to put out an RFP for an assessor agent, which we have one that filled our past assessor's agent when he left in January. And we took RCS Associates on as our assessor agent to fill in the remainder of this year, January to June. And we have to hire somebody again for the following year, 25, 26. And in order to do that, we have to put out an RFP for that. So this is the RFP that we put together. It's similar to the one, pretty much, probably been changing dates. The one we
In
sent
the
out
time.
in the length of time, yeah, for when we found Josh from first, yes. So yeah, so this is the latest RFP, and we also need to do this so that we know how much to put onto the warrant for how much an assessor's agent will charge us for the year. This will be for a full year.
And we talked about
calendar year.
adding the deadline of April 21st.
Is the deadline.
So,
Yeah.
I'd like to move that we approve this request for proposals for assessor's agent. With the addition of April 21st as the date when they will be opened. And it should be actually at 6 o'clock. On
Yeah,
Monday.
yeah, I changed the times too. So they'll be due at 5:30 and you will open them at 6.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep, so with those changes, I'd like to make a move that we accept that. Do we have a second? And all in favor? Aye. Aye. And we have also a reval contract to talk about.
Yeah, so that, I took it off the agenda because
Yeah,
you guys weren't ready to.
That's right, we decided to wait on it.
Yeah, we're gonna work on a little more on the
Yep.
agenda.
and that's for, yes, the revaluation. We wanted to have a contract signed and locked in, even though it won't happen until 2027.
We've done the RFP, we had somebody who accepted, and we had the amount of what he's accepted, and he's looking to do it next year. So we have to ask the town for funding, and actually it was a lot less than what we've been looking at last year.
What's on?
165,
Yeah, it's a good price.
yep, very good. So we want to make sure
We don't want to lose them.
we can't do anything, the town has to, so what we can do is sign a contract with a stipulation that the town has to be the one that does the final approval. So that's what we're working on right now. All right, so we have a technical assistance community action grant. You want to talk about that?
Yes, so back in the fall, well, last year's town meeting, we got permission to apply for grants for energy efficiency for our buildings. And there was a grant that came up in the fall from the governor's office. I love this one, Policy Innovation and the Future, GoPIF. It was a community action grant through, yeah, and so it was called Energy Efficiency Planning for Rural Communities. It's a technical assistance program. So what it actually is they had to actually go out and hire somebody for this position, and it's no money involved, but we have a person. There were actually 14 towns that were awarded. And we have a person that we're all going to share that's going to help us with our buildings. But I did put all four, I put this building, the town hall, Wright Landing House, and the firehouse in the mix. We were only approved for town hall and town office, which is okay, because we also applied for another grant, which we haven't heard back on, which is actually hopefully going to pay for some energy efficiency upgrades in terms of heating and cooling and that kind of thing for those two buildings. So it might actually work out well. I can read the letter. It basically just says that the offices, please confirm your selection to participate in this program, which will include technical assistance for the following selected buildings. As I said, town hall, town office. So we just need to sign this and send it back to them to say, yes, you know, we're in and we want to do this.
And thank you, Lisa, for doing that work. Yeah, I know you've been working on grants. So we'll sign it.
Yes, so I can sign it
Yep,
because I'm the point person on this.
perfect, go for
So
You guys wanna, should someone make a motion?
motion to accept it, grant.
it. I make a motion that we accept the grant and the technical assistance from that organization.
Go
I
big.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right, we got a request this weekend. The CEO has requested to attend a subsurface wastewater training that addresses the upcoming legislation to reduce nutrient loading from septic systems into groundwater. I had to write all that down. Sounds crazy. The cost is $125, and he said if we didn't approve it, that he would just sort of listen, and whenever he heard something, he would pick up on it. I think that we should approve it. I told him that we would bring it up today, but the whole idea about the wastewater with the water study and everything else, this is coming, and he did say there was new legislation also coming out. So I'd like to have our CEO as well versed as possible with all the legislation. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept and pay for his request to attend the training. Do I have a second?
I would like to add that I'd like to have him come back to us
And share his.
and give us at least the highlights.
Yep.
And bring us up to speed on anything earth shattering and new.
Huh, interesting.
So do I have
Second.
a, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So I can let Gary know that,
I'm sure he'll be thrilled, but I think it's worth it.
yeah. All right, so. The last thing I just have on our agenda right now is I just want to share that Gay Wagner has been working on an application for ASK, which is Assistance with Specific Know-how, a grant to have engineers look at two of our buildings, the fire station and the ferry landing house, or the Wright House. And either way, we have to have engineers look at those two properties, but we're hoping that we'll get some assistance through the ASK grant. I think they're only allowing 5 grants. I think it's either 5 or 6. And I know some other towns around here have also applied. We're hoping we'll get something from it. So that is due, I think, tomorrow.
Another factor is just how much they have in the past expanded if they had money for it.
Right, right. And the grants are up to $5,000. We already have information. I believe it's a total of $3,200 for the 2 properties. So we'll keep you posted on that, but that application should go in tomorrow. And like to publicly thank Dave for doing all that work on that, because that can save the town money if we couldn't have to do it ourselves. Any other things that we need to talk
So
about?
we have, coming up for town hall use, April 11th is.
For the
4/12.
12th.
Well,
Pancake breakfast.
Why can't I say this? April 12th.
April 12th, okay. So I'll plan on opening the town hall, watching the weather and opening it
And getting the water
at
started.
an appropriate time prior to that.
Yeah.
Then with the hope that we can leave it up and running,
Mhm.
so we might not be able to, but we'll see.
But even today with the snow, it's not like it's that cold. And it's gonna be in the 40s, I think, tomorrow or so. Yeah.
Is there anything ever done about sensing equipment for temperature and water in the building?
We shut it down, basically.
Yeah,
Well, we always do, but we used to also, just because of the fear if we lost power, that the restroom could freeze, and it has, actually.
it was drained.
Yeah, we drained it.
You know, we
Drink this, it's not used at all.
that's what I said when I meant shut down.
Okay.
Only because it was so problematic and so many things were going on, we just said, you know what?
Okay,
The furnace was unreliable.
Yeah,
So that meant WCA couldn't do anything in there for the winter, which, you know, of course, we try to do things in the winter to bring people together, but we made a commitment that we wouldn't do anything. So,
They had the chili cook-off,
yep.
so
Yeah.
that meant we turned it back on.
It was
And then-
March 1st though.
And then I went back and drained it again.
yeah,
It got drained and antifreezed twice. I will just throw out there, the kitchen sink wasn't usable, however. There was stuff put down the drain, so I had to I did catch that fact that. Even though the water wasn't turned on, there was stuff put down there that was not antifreeze, so it did re-antifreeze that, but, so when we think about, well, should we have the.
Could have
kitchen
signed
sink?
something and, yeah,
Really, we should always have the kitchen sink, if they're gonna be in the kitchen,
yeah.
just let them have.
When
it
you
set.
have chili and
Yeah.
pancakes, it's like you really need,
You need a kitchen sink.
yeah, yeah. All right, anything else from anybody?
Just putting it
I
on
have one observation, who's in charge of the sign?
me.
I don't go up the island, if you find out why it's. It changes too quickly. Meaning, like your message. You have to come to certain distance to be able to read it. But then you get there,
You
the
got
weather gets
you have
there.
to, you have to sort of see, so if there's not a second message, as you're coming across the bridge, you won't see it change. This is what I do, because I have the same problem. So if you see it changing, you're like, okay, there's two messages, I know what that is, okay, so the first one you know is weather. Okay, so you sort of start to slow down, this is our little secret speed thing, it slows
Yes,
down.
exactly.
So you start to slow down as you're on the bridge and you try to time it where when you get to the end and you just go a little bit slower and it works.
Yeah, and
But
so
I agree with you, I agree.
It's just so you know,
Yes,
you're
yeah.
getting in, as you use it more and get more common,
yeah,
then gonna figure it out, I'm gonna let you know.
yeah,
No criticism is
I
just.
know. I know, the conundrum is, some people really like the weather, they really appreciate that, I've gotten that feedback, so if we have something to announce, in some weeks, we have things to announce all week long. Do we completely take down the weather for the whole week? And as we get towards election for the whole month? Or do I double it up? And then sometimes we have there's gonna be times where there's two things we have to announce, like absentee voting and the select board meeting. So I'm trying to get people a little bit used to that, like,
Right.
yeah, and the most I can do it is 5 seconds a piece.
You're gonna figure it.
And then right now I have the weather shortened, it's 4 seconds and 6 seconds, so I've been noodling around with it.
So you can't dictate exactly, like, I want this message that's 4 lines long to be up for 12 seconds.
You only have 10 seconds to read it, estimated, but for me, when I get to the point where I can actually see it
Yeah.
and I'm past it, it's about 10 seconds. Yeah.
So I did have somebody say that on the other side, I can get the weather on my phone, I'd rather see that sign say, welcome to Westport Island.
I agree to that, like, everyone's gets to it on the radio, on the TV, and.
I know, your car says it's like the temperature.
Yeah, it's a good thing, it gives you a little bit of break when there's nothing going on.
Yeah, so I don't know.
What I-
We could do like an informal poll at some point. I wanted to give it some time to like work out the case before I really start.
I just gotta let you know.
We
Yeah,
haven't,
appreciate it.
we haven't had any negative.
No, not since that first day. We got all the negatives the first day
Mm-hmm.
and they realized that they owned it. They hadn't been to any meetings for the past 4 years. So they didn't know anything about this whole discussion we've been having all these years. But other than that, I haven't heard,
Yeah.
I've heard all positive things.
Yeah,
It looks nice, it's functioning well.
I like just the simple black and white pretty much. Yeah, it's easy to read.
schedule it, like I
Yep.
just put things on a calendar and forget about it, so like your meetings are always in the mail, the fire department, the history. So it's, I like it a lot, been
Jeff?
keeping it handy.
Just a question, what held up the, clearing of the trees at Liquid Land? We had money, beside, way back when,
Go ahead.
Well, we spent $10,000 on getting the water reestablished at the Wright House. So that dug into a little bit of that. And then there was quite a lot of discussions about, well, what's the actual ultimate outcome? And are we misspending money if we are gonna spend money to take the trees down? If we're not actually gonna use the building anymore. So it's just rolled, you know, the roof got delayed because of the trees got delayed because of the water. Like, and now we're dealing with the septic, so. It's just the trees haven't come to the high priority spot with money behind it.
The septic system is pretty serious right now.
yes, we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, thank you for.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm hearing about it from Dee and I've been out of town, that's my excuse, I'm glad to help. But yeah, it's kind of a sequence of things, because we come back to, roof, and we say we're holding up on the roof because.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And now we're
But-
looking, at the roof saying, well, do we put in the roof on it now, if in fact it's gonna go to the history friends and they're gonna. Up and put a different pitched roof on anyway, well, that would be dumb then to put a new roof on right now, so it's just one thing after the next thing.
But the trees, as long as there's a house there, that we need to deal with the trees.
We do, the other thing with the trees is that we can't cut the trees until we get an approved replanting plan. So, that's another,
So I know
it's
it's,
like, all right, well, I'm just gonna tell you, I can draw on a piece of paper that, okay, for every tree we cut, we're gonna plant 10 more. But is that gonna satisfy you? Do we have to hire a professional forester to say, oh, you're gonna plant 10 trees for each one you cut?
And where are we gonna plant
You
them,
have to
especially if
be
you're.
there.
Yeah,
It's-
it just never ends.
You know,
So we haven't forgotten about that location, which it's just nonstop things happening.
yeah, I know, and it's been a lot, all kinds of stuff happened this year,
Yeah.
so a big surprise.
Yeah.
Actually,
And
it's just that we had appropriated the 12,000 just for that purpose.
Yeah, but,
That's 10,000 for the roof.
Yeah,
yeah, but we didn't have any for the water.
Yeah, well, I know, and
And the septic.
I'm amazed about that.
It's just everything, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
so on that happy note, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn for the evening. Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor? Aye. Right.
Charlotte already gave up on us.
She did. Oh, and we didn't even,
I just sent her the notes.
good.
She can't hear it very well, even.
I know. Well, I didn't like listening to it either.